All right, welcome to Here for the Horses. Glad you're here for the horses. Today we're going to have a good session. We're going to be talking about horsey hind end, glutes, legs, booty, whatever you want to call it. I had a really cool, I can't do it today just because it'll be its own session, but I had a really cool massage this week where one of my longtime clients called me over and called me in and asked if I could come work on her horse. And of course I will. She said to me that um, she thought that the horse had pulled a muscle. Okay, so I was like, well, we can't have that. So let me come on out there. She didn't know for sure. So I thought, I'm going to go out there and just see what's going on. What's fantastic about body work is that, one, it's cheap compared to a vet call. Okay. It's great to do body work. Unless it's like the flu or an infection, then you do not want to do body work. Okay. Or any bleeding, obviously, don't do body work. But if it's kind of like off and on, you don't quite know what's going on. Maybe it's a pulled muscle, maybe it's tenderness, soreness, inflammation, whatever. Body work is fantastic do to kind of go through the weeds a little bit before you start spending the big bucks, right? So my client knows her horses very well. She said, something's just off. I think she's pulled a muscle, maybe a hamstring. I said, okay, sweet. I go out there. And then she says to me, so she starts out pretty good, pretty nice, no issues. She's not completely lame or not lame, but as she continues to work, she gets weaker and fussy and starts having an attitude. And I was like, oh, okay, that's not a pulled muscle. Right? Because a pulled muscle would be the opposite of that. So think about when you overwork your own muscles. Okay? You get up, let's say you get up from a chair after a nice leg day at the gym, okay? You're stiff those first couple steps. Okay, but you can work out of it and then you can get back into your workout like you don't even have a sore muscle, right? If you haven't overdone it. So I said, well, that doesn't sound like a pulled muscle. It sounds more like the beginning of a strain where she's functioning pretty good, but the more she starts working that muscle, the more it's a problem for the horse, and she starts getting a little kind of exhausted. The muscle gets exhausted. So I did a whole hind end series on her, which was interesting that that fell within this week also. But I really narrowed it down to I found three spots. The first spot was a gluteal right above the insertion to the hip joint. Okay. The second spot was the stifle. The third spot was right below the hock on the cannon bone, the cannon bone area right below the hock on about an inch and a half below the hock. Okay. So there's no muscles down there. So the horse had kind of a reaction to that. So we have three kind of components that are really important to take care of. She had the most tension in the stifle. Okay. But the gluteal muscle above the hip joint was quite inflamed. So, and it's a cool video. I'll probably put it on my coaching community for those of you that are in that. Because, it's like a 20-minute video, so I can't spend too much time on it. But really, really cool stuff happened in that video. I don't know if, I just did a really funny video with, the Cinderella theme where I said when you've been doing massage long enough, you know when it's going to release. It's that horse. Okay. So check that video out. It was hilarious to me that the timing was just so perfect. I was like, you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it to that music. So it was funny. But fantastic massage on that horse. We got a lot of the inflammation out of the gluteal. I got a ton of tension out of the stifle, so I want you guys to be able to see that who are on my coaching community. And then I told the owner about the point below the hock because you got to be real careful. You got to be real careful about that stuff. So I recommended, and I don't recommend this a lot, to be honest with you. I recommended back off on the riding. I want to come see her again to see what's left, right? Because I always tell you, you got to go back and see what's left, what's gotten better, what's still there. Okay, you got to go back and check. So I told her I want to come see her again. I said I wouldn't ride her. I would probably walk her though. I'd probably walk her because I want that blood flow going. And I want to come see her again. So I'm excited about that. She's in kind of like a stall and a run, but horses in runs don't run. Do you know what I mean? They just kind of like meander around. So I think the walking part is pretty important for that. And I think that the not riding is pretty important for that too. So I want to see what's until I can see her again. So that was my recommendation. Longtime client, so I know this horse really, really, really well. So that was kind of cool. It was a really cool massage on a horse that I know really well. But let me show you a photo of what has inspired me to talk about the hind end. I really end up getting sucked into like the pole because there's just so much you can do there and their face. There's so much on the face. We had a lot of fun with the legs recently, and then recently I've had a couple really cool flank situations going on, so that'll play in for today. But I saw a video online on Facebook somewhere, and I told you if you guys hang out with me for long enough, I certainly want to ruin photos of horses for you. So now when you're scrolling the internet, you will be like, oh my gosh, that horse needs a massage pronto. So it happens to me, now it's going to happen to you. And then I want to show you a really nice photo. And I knew exactly what butt I wanted to see for that nice photo. Okay, so let me share this photo. Now this is a beautiful horse. I have no issue with this horse. I don't know who this is. But I saw the butt. Okay. So here's a giant horse butt. Okay. This is a very athletic, very well built horse. Okay. But to me, this looks tight. Okay. So where does your guys' eye go? I want to know from you. So tell me in the chat what you see. I gotta find where my chat button is. I don't know where it went. Oh, here it is. Move that over. Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh, you guys are so good. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody else? Yes. Okay. Okay. You guys nailed it. I'm not gonna leave out this area though here. These Gaskins look a little bit tight. Okay. And the Hawks look a little bit turned in. And for those of you that have hung out with me for long enough, you know that when those hocks get kind of tight and turned in, I go for this muscle right here and I check it out. And it's not always that muscle, but it's normally that muscle. Okay. I'm going to go
Okay.
after this little muscle right here because when this little muscle here gets tight, it makes those hocks kind of go in. Okay. But my eye immediately went to Julie, where Julie said above the tail, this section here, how lumpy it is, how lumpy bumpy it is. Okay, and there's that little divot right there, right? Okay. Left hip looks higher, hard to tell. You're right. It does. It does look higher. Yeah. That's a big horse, you guys. Look at the size of him. But look at this glute up here, right up here. That looks really tight to me. Okay. And how it kind of now you'll see this often. And there's a couple things. You'll see it like this, or you'll see where there's a big kind of a lump. It almost gets pointy right here, where this muscle gets pointy here. Or you'll see a really big lump right here. Okay, and those are all different insertion points for hind end muscles. Okay, so this insertion point right here is a semitendinosus, that big old muscle going down. Okay, so this one's not too tight on this particular horse, but this one up here is a gluteal and probably a bit of the bicep femoris. Okay, so we're going to talk about that today. And then I decided that I must give my friend Wanda a text message and have her send me a picture of a booty that I know very well from a distance. Here it is. This is Cinder's booty. Look at that. You guys, look at that. Now, these horses are built similar, okay? So they're both big, okay? Look at that gaskin on that horse. Jeez Louise. So look at how nice and smooth this is up here. And I knew it was going to be smooth because I've seen this horse enough to know it. Okay. Nice and smooth. There's no like, roller coaster going on up there. This looks really nice. We got a little tight muscle right there. She'll fix that by the end of the day. Maybe tomorrow. We'll give her 24 hours, and then I want to see a photo. Okay. So these the hind legs look really good. That's a giant Gaskin. This is a big boy. So I knew this was going to be kind of a similar horse. I wouldn't want to throw up Chester here and be like, look, see? Nice and smooth, okay? But these two horses are built similar. So you can see a nice, beautiful hind end that isn't tight, right? And I just want you to be able to kind of see that and be like, oh, this is a beautiful horse. I love this horse. Very, very pretty. But I'd like to loosen that up. Okay. So I got inspired to talk a little bit about hind end because of that. Any questions so far on just that part? Okay. All right. Well, let's dive into it then. We're gonna get us through as much as we can. I think we'll do all right. I'm going to be going through, I don't know if I'm partial to, this is my first school that I went to in Loveland, Colorado. It's called Equitouch Systems. Okay. So it was the first kind of anatomy course that I went through. And so I don't know if I'm like playing favorites. But I haven't liked one as much as this one since. But remember, it's my first one, so I might just be partial to it. It's the same place that I got these charts that are my favorite charts. Okay. So I just love I don't know, I just love the information. I like the way it was presented to me. It made it easy. So I'm gonna go through this a little bit. Now we're gonna start with muscles that work on on the hip and the hind limb. Okay. As you study these muscles, I'm reading out of the book. Remember that the hip joint is a ball and socket joint. Okay. It's good information to know the different joints and what they are. So if they're sliding, ball and socket, or hinge. Okay. It's a ball and socket joint, so it has more mobility. Okay. Its primary movements consist of extension and flexion. However, additional ability of movement includes abduction and adduction. Some rotation of this joint is also possible, but is limited by the arrangement of the muscles and the ligaments. Okay. So let's first talk about the middle gluteal and the medial gluteal. And I checked something for you guys because I wanted to make sure my information was correct. Uh-oh, what did I do with it? I asked, oh, I went to find out because I've had people think that the middle gluteal and the medial gluteal are the same muscle, and they are not. Okay, so they are not the same muscle. So let's first talk about the middle gluteal. We're going to talk about origin, insertion, and we're going to talk about action. So middle gluteal. Let me get a photo for you here. It's the green one. Okay, it's the green one. For those of you that are colorblind, there's no men here. It's this one. Okay? Middle gluteal. Middle gluteal extends the hip and abducts the limb. So how do you remember what is abduct and adduct? To add them, you bring them together. To abduct, you take them apart. Okay. Middle gluteal extends the hip. Here's the hip. It extends it. Okay. And then abducts the hind limb. Okay. Middle gluteal origin, crest of the ilium. Now remember origin and insertion. Origin is I kind of think of it as the base. And then the insertion is wherever it's going to move that part of the body. Okay, so origin is the crest of the ilium and the adjacent part of the sacrum. Okay, right in here. And then the insertion is going to be the greater trochanter of the femur. So we're going down here. So you're going to connect these 2 points. That's why it flexes. Okay, that's the middle gluteal. Okay. The superficial gluteal flexes the hip. Shoot, the middle gluteal extends the hip. Sorry, guys, extends the hip. And it's funny because for a long time I thought all gluteals flex the hip, but this one actually extends the hip. Okay. The superficial gluteal is the one that flexes the hip and abducts the limb. So these both abduct the limb. Okay. Let's take a look here. I have another book that shows really nice pictures. Okay. Here's the superficial gluteal. Origin, tubercocci, which is also point of hip, and gluteal fascia. Insertion, tertiary trochanter of the femur. Oh, and you know what's funny? Ooh, 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 ooh. Oh, that's right. I remember now. Okay, so in school, this was my first, remember, this is my first school. I was reading this and looking at the picture, so I'm going to show you the picture right now. Okay, so look at the origin insertion. Oops. Okay. And on the writing, it says that it extends. You can see I crossed it out, extends. And I wrote how. And so then I messaged the teacher and I had her look at this page and she's like, oh yeah, cross that out. It flexes the hip. And I was like, are you serious? Did I just find an error in the textbook? Sweet. But that was based off the photo. Because you can look at the photo and go, how is that going to extend the hip? Right? It's not going to. It's going to flex it. So that's why it's really cool to see accurate photos. Okay. So, action flexes and abducts the hip. Flexes, brings it forward, and abducts, brings it out. Okay. Okay. Now, remember I told you that the gluteus medius is not the same as the middle glute. Okay, so look at this bad boy muscle. I'm going to show you the picture first. Look at all those insertion points. Look at all those origin points. Okay, so origin is up at the top, insertion down further. Origin, dorsal surface of the ilium, the tubercocci, point of hip, sacral ligaments, and the thoracosacral thoro, thor, oh, thoracolumbar and gluteal fascia. I don't think anyone calls it that. Thoracolumbar. Okay, that's the origin. So pretty much every area at the top up here, there's a lot of insertion point or origin points. That's a big muscle. Okay, and then the insertion is the major trochanter and proximal ridge of the femur. Okay, this one's cool because the action is extension and abduction. So you can see if those little muscles were to pull tight, see how they're inserted up here? What it's going to do on that bone. Okay. Okay, so that's the gluteus medius or medius gluteal. Okay, TFL, TFL, tensor fascia latte. And do you know what? I've never been comfortable saying that. And so I decided as a treat for you guys, I was going to look up how you're supposed to say it properly because I knew I wasn't doing it. I got the weirdest video, you guys, and I want to share it with you because it creeped me out a little bit. So now you're all going to be creeped out. Check out this strange video, though. This is how they say that we're supposed to say it. I'm certainly not going to say it the way they tell me to here. Okay, are you ready? Here we go.
Looking at how to pronounce these names, as well as how to say more interesting but often confusing names from anatomy that many get wrong, so make sure to stay tuned to the channel. How do you say it? Tensor fascia lata. Tensor fascia lata muscle. Tensor fascia lata. Remember this. Tensor fascia lata. And now you know.
Now you know, but I'm not going to ever say it like that. That's not going to happen. Okay? But what was cool is that I'm pretty close. Okay, so they have a pronunciation here on the top, right there. I'm pretty close. Tensor fascia latte. I'm pretty close. I don't know what an AA is, but latte. I think I'm pretty close. Better than that guy. That was creepy. Okay. So this one is a fun muscle, and I want you to think about that story that I told you about the stifle with that mare that I worked on. Okay. Very touchy around her stifle. So origin, tubercocce. What does that mean? Point of hip. Okay. Point of hip. Insertion, patellar ligament and the tibial crest. So let me show you the photos. Okay. So pretty obvious what that one's going to do. Action, flex the hip. And then look at where it's attached to the stifle. It's going to straighten the stifle. Extends the stifle. Okay. Now I will have some videos. I'll put that full 20-minute video on the coaching community so you guys can see how I worked on that stifle. But the coolest thing about working on a stifle, it's one of the easiest things you can do. You put your fingers on it. Actually, if we have time, I'll show it to you. You put your fingers on it and you just hold. Okay? And the horse, if the horse blinks or reacts to you, and she did, you have stifle tension. And it's probably from the TFL. Okay, when the TFL gets weak, it'll make the stifle kind of pop or roll a little bit. So if you have an older horse or a horse that has weak TFL, this happens a lot with older horses, you'll start hearing that like kind of popping, snapping sound, and they'll just be standing. It's like they kind of shift their weight and it pops. So I have firsthand knowledge of this because my gelding was getting older and he had kind of weaker muscles anyways. And he had that popping going on, and I was like, oh, that's not good. So I decided to test this idea and I set up for him. Everybody says, do hill work, do hill work. Well, if you don't have hills, that doesn't work for people. So I don't ever recommend that because, and then also if you go up a hill, you have to go down one, and that can be really hard on them if they have a weak hind end. So I don't recommend hills for really anything. Um, but I do recommend cavalettis. Okay. And extended trot will solve a lot of issues too. Extended trot and cavalettis. So cavalettis for that little horse solved the issue because I strengthened that TFL where he had to just pick his little feetsies up a little bit more. And that TFL got stronger. It wasn't as atrophied and that popping sound went away. So it's one easy place to start if you hear that because everybody goes, oh, what are you gonna you gotta, inject the stifles. You gotta do this. You gotta do that. If you have a weak TFL, it's gonna start making noises. Okay. So strengthen it up with some cavalettis. Walk, trot, whatever. It doesn't need to be crazy. If you can get them to pick their feet up more, that's good. So that's the TFL. Okay. Okay. Quadriceps, the quads. It's funny. A lot of times people think the quads are in the wrong spot on horses. So let me show you. I'm not going to get into this a ton because the quads could be their own Zoom call. They want their own call on a Sunday. Okay. But let me show you the photo first. Okay. There's a bunch of them. This is why they want their own Zoom call. Comprised of four heads, rectus femoris, vastus lateralis, vastus medialis, and vastus intermedius. Did you get all that? Origin, okay, so for the rectus femoris, because that one's special, there's always got to be one that's a little different. It's the shaft of the ilium. And so for the vastus muscles, the rest of them, it's the lateral, medial, and anterior surface of the femoral shaft. Okay, so let's look again. So you got that one wild one up here. Okay. And then the rest of the gang is right here. Okay. The one outlier is up here, the rest of the gang's here. And then they all shoot down this direction. Okay. Insertion, patella, proximal tibia, tibial tuberosity. Remember, a tuberosity is just part of a bone that sticks out the muscles can attach to. Okay. So that's going to have an influence on stifle also. Action, stifle extension. And then that one little special muscle, the rectus femoris, also flexes the hip. Okay. So those are your quads. I think quads, you know how I always say, um, what do I say gets ignored? Legs. You know how I always say legs get ignored? I think the quads get ignored too. Nobody talks about quads on horses, do they? No, it's always glutes, hamstrings, neck, pole. They never talk about the legs and they never talk about the quads. Okay. Next one. Bicep femoris. I do love a nice bicep femoris. I'm going to be honest with you. Okay. This is that big, beautiful muscle. It's a big, beautiful muscle. That is a big muscle, isn't it? Look at how it's broken to parts. You guys see those parts on horses too. And it's okay to see those parts to a point. I don't want everybody to pretend their horse should all look like draft horses, okay? But it shouldn't be pulled super tight. And look at the insertion you got, or the origin. I'm sorry, the origin. Do you think that this muscle has something to do with that first horse that I showed you the picture of? Yes. Bicep femoris on that horse was tight. And look at how the origin area is kind of broke into sections too. That's that roller coaster look you got going on. Okay, very common. You'll see it now in horses. And then you have the gluteals that go over the top of that. So where they insert also is going to influence the way that that looks up there. So Cinder had some nice big old round muscles up there, and that other bay horse had some tight ones. Okay. Origin, sacroiliac ligament, gluteal fascia, coccygeal fascia, and ischial tuberosity. That's all of it, guys. That's all of it. It's all that area up there. Insertion, posterior femur, anterior patella. Remember, anterior is up toward the posterior back. Okay. Anterior or the posterior femur, the back part of the femur, anterior patella, the front part of the patella, and the lateral patellar ligaments. Lateral means side. Tibial crest and the crural fascia. I don't know what that is. At the point of the hock. Crural fascia. More fascia. At the point of the hock. Look at how far that muscle goes down. That fascia is down here. Boop. Okay. That's a powerhouse right there. Action. Extends the limb. Extends the limb, the hip, stifle, and hock. And hip abduction. Abduction. Not a lot. Oh no, this one has a fair amount. This one has a fair amount, and I'll tell you why it has a fair amount. Because of this insertion point right here. Because it's on the outside. So if it were to pull tight, it's going to kind of pull that leg out a bit. Okay. So if this muscle was tight, one thing that you could do is bring the limb across the midline and stretch it that way. Opposite of what it does. That's where the hind end leg range of motion comes in handy because you're bringing that leg out and saying, which way do you not want to go? Okay. Extends the limb and hip abduction. Oh, we're doing good on time. Smoking. We're smoking through this. I didn't know how long I was going to take. Okay. Semi-membranosus. Now the way, so that's brother and sister, or maybe they're, yeah, brother and sister, cousins. I don't know. No, brother, sister, probably. Semi-membranosus, semi-tendinosus. The way that I keep the two straight in my head is the semi-tendinosus goes alongside the tail, the tendinosus tail. Semi-membranosus is on the inside. It's a little guy. Kind of cup those little butt cheeks. That's a semi-membranosus. Okay, semi-tendinosus goes along the tail. Okay, so let's talk about the semi-membranosus first. I'm going to show you a picture because this is a great photo. Semi-membranosus. Look, it hits that ischial tuberosity, the point of buttock. So when we are doing the point of buttock massage, what do I call that? Is that what I call it? I think I do call it that. We go all the way down from the very top up at the origin. We go all the way down that leg. Okay, we kind of cup it, pull it towards us, cup it, pull it towards us. You hit that ischial tuberosity, it's the harder point. I like to work those muscles there because they insert there. See the origin? Two origins on this one also. So I want to make sure all the origins and the insertions of these muscles are healthy. They get real tight. Okay. Anyways, what was I saying? Origin. Posterior border, the back border of the sacrosciatic ligament and the ventral ischial tuberosities. Oh, that's a cool photo. Look at how that shows how it inserts the origin on this top part here. Not cool. Okay. And then it hits that ischial tuberosity and attaches there also. Okay. Insertion, medial epicondyle of the femur. Medial epicondyle of the femur. Medial's inside, middle, lateral's on the outside. Action. Hip extension and adduction. This is an adductor. I love a nice adductor. Okay. Hip extension and adduction. So when I say adduction is in the hind end, ooh, I told somebody I was going to talk about that. Yes, and we can because we have time. And then the stifle is flexion. Flexion of the stifle. Okay. So I got a message from somebody after we were doing the chest pictures that was super fun. And did you guys that are in the community see Wanda's improvement on Cinder? That was a big deal. That was a big deal. It was like straight, and then the one went, ah! And I thought the one that went down was the tight one, but it was a straight one. That was cool. So, anyways, based off that photo, I got a message from someone, and she said the fronts are pretty good, but I noticed that my horse stands really close in the hinds. Okay. So I immediately think adductors because when they get tight, it's going to do the same thing as tight pectorals. It just brings the hind legs closer together. That's what its job is. So if they're in a chronic state of being tight, then it's going to affect the way they stand. And not on the ground, but as they're coming into a stance, right? As they're walking, it's going to be tight. So that's also when you see like tight roping stuff. Okay. That's adductors. That's pectorals in the front. Hind end, it's adductors. And I have a special way that I loosen that up. I mean, what I like to do is I'll kind of reach into that little butt cheek, that cute little butt cheek that they have back there, cup it, lift up, pull out, slide, pull out, slide, pull out. That works really well to loosen that muscle up. And horses dig it. Dig it. Okay, so I will stand facing their hind end. So the butt's here, tail's here. I use one hand on the point of hip to secure their body, and we talked about that last week. Slide the other hand into that little butt cheek, cup it, and then pull out like that. They like it a lot. That works quite good. And it's really biomechanically the only way that you can do it without hurting yourself. I mean, you can pick the leg up and hoist it out to the side if you know how to do that move, which I don't teach unless you've been with me for a while. Okay? Semitendinosus, the one that's next to the tail. This is a long muscle. Look at the insertion point, I keep saying that, the origin point. I mean, they're both insertions, but look at the origin. Okay. I do want to be clear. These muscle drawings are all a generalization. Okay. So as you guys know, if you have a big, beefy quarter horse, if you have a thoroughbred, if you have an Arabian, Andalusian, whatever, it's gonna be a little different. The muscles are in the same spot, but depending on how they're built, Chester's got tiny little muscles. They're tiny. They're lean. Okay, they're smaller. Georgia's got pretty good sized muscles. Cinder's got huge muscles. Okay. Leanne's got a couple beefcakes of her own. And then she's got an Arabian. Well, actually, they're all kind of part Arabian. But Ellie's got smaller muscles. Okay. So you gotta work with the horse that's in front of you. So kind of it helps to know these muscles a little bit better. But when you have a tight insertion or origin point of this muscle, That's where you get that funny lump right above their tail, like kind of right in that area. Right? I said the bicep femoris is that whole section that makes those waves. Well, the insertion of the semitendinosus is part that makes that wave. It's right by the tail dock. Okay. Origin, transverse process of the first two coccygeal vertebra. Geez, I didn't even know that. Okay. Coccygeal. What bones are those guys? Tail. Yep. The first two coccygeal. And the ventral surface of the ischial tuberosity. Okay. Ventral. What does ventral mean? Well, dorsal is here. So ventral. Okay. Ventral's below. Okay. So origin, first two coccygeal and the ventral surface of the ischial tuberosity, those two insertion points. And then the insertion is the tibial crest, crural fascia, and point of the hock. I don't know if I said curl right either. Okay. So it even goes down to the point of the hock. Action. Hip extension and internal rotation. Hock extension also extends the stifle when the hip and the hock are extended. And stifle flexion when the hip and the hock are not extended. Okay. That's a cool muscle. Awesome. So that's what I had for muscles of the hind end. Now I want to talk a little bit about, let me look real quick here. Whoops. I'm going to probably look at this. You guys, my videos, it's funny, I'll just share my screen. I have nothing that's not horse related on my photos. It's crazy. I'm like, I do have a family also, I swear. I just don't take pictures of them. That's all. Uh, okay, look at all my photos. This is all I do, you guys. I just take photos of stuff. I do have a necklace on there. Okay. But let's see. Where is the... Oh, here's those photos of Cinder. Chester got ridden. That was exciting. He was good, of course. Okay, here we go. This is the video. So, hey guys, I have the whoa, Vogue here. That's too loud. Some homework for this. Bye-bye. Oh, that's not the right video. Hold on. Stop share. I do have it somewhere. Here it is. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, cool. Let me share. Boop. We're done with that. That's for sure. Here it is. Okay. I have some notes here, but let's talk first a little bit about what I do. This is the mare that had the issues that I found. I need to get myself out of the way here. Okay, so here's the stifle issue. Obviously she's enjoying this. She did not enjoy it. And what I was saying to the owner who was standing out here was that when I first touched this area on her body, and it'd be nice if I could get a photo with me not in the way, which is right under my arm right here, she did not like it. Okay, and now I'm rubbing on that same area after doing a little bit of work, and she's not having any issues. Okay, so what she had going on is right here, she had some very sensitive, inflamed tissue. Okay. So she's kind of digging it now. And now I'm kind of working up on that. Just doing some circles. Oh, she told me she wanted it back further. I didn't listen. That's what that was. Oh, yeah, I did. Okay. At one point in time, it was really funny because she was talking pretty clearly to me and I wasn't listening. And then I was watching the video back and I did eventually get it, but normally I'm kind of on it. And I was like, oh, I didn't listen to her right there. There we go. And then I don't know if we'll see it, but I came down to that stifle and did some circles around that. And she went, no, which is not her personality at all. This is her personality. Face up to the sky, love in every moment. Okay. So that's going around the hip joint there. I think that's really important to kind of work that area. She likes it. Work that area for a bit. Do some circles around that hip joint because you guys saw how many, see, like that. Do that. You guys saw how, oh, here's a perfect spot to stop. Okay. Actually move my hand just a little bit out of the way. No. Okay. So the hip joint is pretty much directly under my hand. Okay. And then you had all those muscles feeding in and then muscles going around, right? You can see her little bicep femoris here. Okay. She's a warm blood dressage horse, very muscular. Okay. So do some circles around this point of hip. Do some circles. Warm it up. That's how I found that spot initially. It was, and the spot itself is up here. It's more of part of the muscle. It's insertion. It's inserting into that. Okay. And then I followed that bicep femoris down and went to the stifle, and she didn't like that very much at all. And so I slowed way down. Let's see if I can find where I actually worked on that. I'll go by 30 seconds. I slowed way down. Oh, there's some semitendinosus work. Okay. So I'm going to go down that semitendinosus. I start where it inserts and I go down the origin. Went to the other side. Oh, this was interesting. There was nothing on the other side. It was only on the left. So I'm kind of looking around for areas that she doesn't really like that much. And then we get into her favorite spot up here. She loves her scapulas rubbed like crazy. Look at. She loves, that's her favorite spot ever. So if I ever come in and she does not want her scapulas rubbed like this, we're calling the vet immediately because something's wrong. Because she loves it all the time. That's her favorite spot. Okay. So I checked this whole hind end and there was nothing. Nothing wrong with that hind end. It's just the other side. There's kind of how I sweep down on the TFL. A little bit of the bicep femoris there. Oh, she was funny about that too. I won't get into it. TFL. That's how I check the stifle right there. Okay. So did you guys see that initially I just did some circles around it just to see what she would say? She didn't say anything. And then I'll just take my flat hand and kind of cup it and hold it. And if I want to check for tension, I just use a finger. Okay. And I'll just put my finger there to see what she has to say about it. I kind of want to show that to you guys. So we'll probably get to that. Oh, I have another funny video to show you. Whenever I have to set up my phone, she turns and watches me like, can you hurry up with that? Why are you're supposed to be giving, oh, so here's kind of an example of what I do on the stifle. I'm just holding it. I'm just touching it. Okay. Do you see that's causing, you see what I mean? She's like, I don't like that. Okay. And that's what this horse says. That's her, I don't like that. Other horses, you're going to get a different response. Some horses will try to hide it. She's kind of right in between. She's not going to give it away completely, like, oh my gosh, that's where it hurts. But you saw how she kind of was like, right? And the fidgetiness, right? You guys can see that. And then she starts pawing. She never paws. She never paws. Never paws. And then she tried to walk out. Okay. So you guys know that I don't like massaging in stalls or in cross ties, but sometimes you have to. just like I mean, I didn't have to, but I needed to get work done on the hind end, so I needed her to kind of stand in one spot. But I prefer paddocks or pastures so that because right there she would have been like, see you later, sucker, right? She would have been out of there. So that's a very clear line of communication. If you have a horse in cross ties, what do? Because that's all they can do. They can't come around and itch themselves. They can't come around and do any of that stuff. So I don't like to do cross ties. I'll do it for particular reasons, but in general, I don't. Because you're gonna miss out on all that communication. Okay. Here we go. We'll keep watching this because this was a super cool massage. I enjoyed it at least. I know Vogue enjoyed it. So do you see how what I was doing right there, you guys? You see how I'm supporting the body right here with this hand, and then I'm doing work with that hand? And she's like, please stop. I think right there I was telling her to be a tough mare, and then she was like, okay, fine. There, that's how, did you see what I just did there? I just checked so you can see these in kind of like in little increments. Okay, so right here, I have a hand supporting, normally I put it kind of up here a little bit more, point of hip, and then I'll do the kind of the semitendinosus pull all the way down the hind leg. Okay, that's the first move I just did. You'll see that I do the adductor sweep with her. Her adductors are always good. But wait for it, you'll see it. I'm still checking the semitendinosus right now. There's the sweep. I'm going kind of down. There's the sweep right there. Okay. Now I'm checking the stifle again. This is how I check for tension in the stifle, and you guys can't see, but all I'm looking at is her eyes. And if she blinks, that is tension. And then I'm kind of checking this point up here too, but I'm kind of checking that TFL there because she was sensitive to that when I started out on her. That was a little too much pressure on her there, but then she started liking it. So, like, I kind of know this horse pretty well, so I can kind of push it with her a little bit. There, now she's all right. But that might be all you get from whatever horse if your horse is like pretty tough. Oh, I think right here is where I pushed her a little bit. And I'm giving her a break. Oh, I think this was the funny part. Oh, where's my other sheet? I'm going to be doing some clips with this, so you'll see them on my public page. But the breaks were really important with her. And you'll see right there. Look at that. That's how long it took for her to relax. And she kind of checks in with me. There's the release. So I don't normally have to wait for her that long, but I just felt like I had to because she had kind of a funny look on her face, and I just wanted to see what she was going to do, if she was going to process that work or not. So really important to step back. And you see how far back I am? Okay. So she continued to yawn for a little while. There, I'm checking okay, here, this will be a good video. We'll end on this one. So this is how I'm checking. Watch her blinks. See the blinks? She shouldn't be blinking that much. That's tension. So I was just staying there and I couldn't see her face. So that's why I'm in that. I normally, there's the release. There's the release. So I don't normally stand like this when I'm doing it, but she had her head over here, so I couldn't see her. So I had to step out. Okay. So that's all I do with her. Does she have tight rhomboids? Yeah. Yeah, she does. She works really hard. She works super hard and she's getting a lot of muscle tone back, so we're staying on top of it, which is cool. Um, yep. Okay, any questions about that part of the call? I'm going to talk a little bit about Journey Through the Horse. Some of you are sick of hearing about it. I'm sick of talking about it. But you know what? Last year, I felt like I talked about it a lot. And then I had someone like halfway and go, I didn't hear about this at all. And I was like, what? I feel like I've been shoving this down people's throats. Any questions? Okay. All right. So, Journey Through the Horse. You know what? I want to talk a little bit about what I'm going to talk about next week. Next week, today's the 4th. Is it next week? Bum. Next week. No. Yes. Next week, I'm going to be in Tennessee, Nashville. Okay. So, I want to talk about um, reading signs of your horses before we start Journey Through the Horse. Journey Through the Horse starts on the 18th. Okay. I want to talk about how to read your horses. So, what is a like with that red mare? So when you're learning something, a lot of time you're so focused on learning, you don't listen to what the horse has to say, which is totally and completely understandable and don't feel bad about it. But I want you at the same time, if you can, listen to what the horse is saying because it's super important to how effective you are. So next week I want to talk about, we'll talk a little bit about what's the difference between rest, relaxation, enjoyment, and concern. What are different signs of concern? Okay, she didn't pin her ears once. She didn't swish her tail, but she went, I want out of here. And she went, paw, paw, paw. She never paused, so I knew that was more than normal. She kind of like got fidgety. Okay, fidget's a good thing to pay attention to. Oh, biting the air. Yeah, that's real clear. There's a lot. There's a lot. And every time when you know your horse better, this stuff becomes like its own language and it's beautiful. So I want to talk about that next week and I'll be in Nashville. So if I have any electrical problems or computer problems, I'll just be on my phone talking to you guys. It'll be fine. Okay. Oh, Sylvie's late. Different time zone. Um, so we'll be talking about that. That'll be a good session for those of you guys that are kind of getting into it, or if you're doing Journey Through the Horse for the first time, you'll want to see it. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that on our first day. And then on our first day of Journey Through the Horse, it'll be on Sundays. We're going to have the intro session. I'm going to talk a little bit about how it works. I'm going to talk a little bit about how to submit your videos, where to submit them to, what to expect. Give me, 24 hours to get back to you on the videos, where I'm going to put them. You'll be on the coaching community page. And we'll kind of run through our first section, okay? And I'm also going to run through like the clinic, okay? So I'll show you what the clinic looks like, how to get in there, how everything's kind of laid out. So it'll be fun. If you just purchased the online clinic, and that's all you need, by the way, to be forever invited to this. So let me find out. Let me put it up here. If you don't have it, I'll put it up for you. Sticky notes. All you need is the clinic. So once you get the clinic, you're in, and you're in forever. Okay. And then you're going to be also in the coaching community page, which is the best page out there. That's no public's invited. We get to be a happy family and bounce things off each other and encourage each other and watch other horses, which is awesome. If you haven't bought this yet, the code is Journey25 to get 25% off. That is good till the 10th. Plenty of time. Don't be late. Don't do it on the 11th. Okay. Um, but Journey Through the Horse. Starts on the 18th. We go through my online clinic part by part. You get assigned homework. For that week, you get to do your homework on however many horses you have, videotape it, and then send me one clip, 9-minute clip of the work that you've done for feedback. And I do feedback for everyone, overview. It's pretty cool. It's pretty fun because it's on time, so you don't have to look at timestamps or anything. And then everybody gets to learn from that also, which is amazing. And then the Sunday after that, another live at 5, we talk about the homework a little bit. If anything amazing happened, and it always does, we'll talk about that. And then I assign the next week's homework and we go over it. And if there's any like extra special stuff that I like to give out, I do that then also. So, like if I'm picking up feet, I'll tell you how to pick them up to stay safe. Okay. Or little weird stuff that helps. Where to hold your hand on different things. Okay. Like put your hand on the hip and then, use your other hand so you're stabilizing the body. That would be something I'd talk about. Because I don't say that, and then I see people doing this and their horse is going, whoa, this is pretty nice, but I don't know if I like it that much. Okay, so it's just things I've noticed over time. Okay. So feel free to join for that. Next week will be a good call on just reading your horse better. That'll be fun. And then starts Journey Through the Horse after that. It's going to be awesome. If you can't do Journey Through the Horse, you can still come on Sundays and get some tidbits. It'll be awesome. You get to see little clips and stuff. So it works out good. Okay. That's all I have for you. You too, Lisa. All right, guys, have a great one. Oh yeah, and print off the workbook. Yeah. It's in the clinic. It's on the first page. It's at the bottom. It says download workbook and you can print it off. And you can take that out to your barn and highlight it. People do all sorts of wacky things with it. Okay? All right. You're welcome. Thanks, guys. Have a great one. Bye, Nancy. Bye.